Good morning, students. Last class, we discussed about the, the software. That is, we have different types of software, like application software and system software. And we took more about the system software. So there we studied about, main importantly, we studied some introduction to operating system, and then we discussed the programming languages. We have three types of languages, that is machine level language, assembly level language, and high level languages. And computer will not understand other than machine level language. And also we have learned different different languages, advantages and disadvantages. And also we have learned something about translators. There are three different translators are available. One is assembler, another is a compiler, and one more is the interpreter. And all we discussed about their role in converting from assembly level language to machine level language and high level language to machine level language. And also we learned something about like utilities. So we learned what is the role of a linker and also the loader. So now let us learn one of the most important system software, that's an operating system. I've told about operating system. So what is an operating system means? So also name itself says operating. So you want to operate with the computer means there is some system. There is something is working behind, between the user and the computer hardware. So when you are in front of the computer and there is something inside, so many operations are taking place. And all this is done by a system software. That is what we call as a operating system. That's how we define what's an operating system means. It's a system software which provides an interface between the computer user and the computer hardware. So when you have an hardware, maybe computer hardware, there are many electronic components. So all is controlled. All will be allocating. It may be the memory devices we have. We have a processor. There are many input-output devices, and all this has to be handled carefully. And this is done by the operating system. It is like it behaves like a virtual machine. Itself is like a machine. It does most of the tasks which is needed for the user without bothering about much of the things. You might have seen, so whatever you stored in some folder, tomorrow you come back, see that will be available. And if you have some user log in with a username and password, and you cannot log in with the same username without password. So that's how there is someone is monitoring and maintaining who this belongs to, who is using the system. If there is a memory, primary memory, how to allocate, when to allocate. So all these things, not only memory, processor, also we have a processor, and processor has to be handled carefully. That is the allocation of processes. We have a different operations. There are many functions done by the operating system. In real life also you might have seen the same person does many tasks. Like normally what happens, in the family, the mother will does most of the tasks. Everything, starting from all the tasks. Most of the tasks you might have seen. So you throw book somewhere here and there, she will arrange everything and keep it ready so that tomorrow you can take. And she will be preparing the breakfast for you, and this is also done by. And also all other tasks like washing, preparing food, and cleaning the house, and arrangement of everything is done by the mother of normally, generally we am talking about. So need not be, nowadays we may be saying, so we have a maybe we have workers, they will do that, but still she is monitoring. Generally what that is, something is monitored the exactly same way the function of operating system. So it's a backbone of any computer, any digital computer you are using means the operating system is one of the most important system software. Without operating system, the computer, you cannot imagine computer. So what you are imagining computer because of operating system. it does most of the tasks. Just you have to use the computer. That's just you type what you want and just keep using, that's all. So for you, someone is, you know, inside the computer is doing everything for you, and whenever whatever you do, that is the role of operating system. So let us learn something about the functions of operating system. Already I've given some introduction what actually the operating system, role of operating system. We'll go at least once you complete this talk, this topic, so you will be able to understand exactly what is the role of operating system. So operating system is a large and complex software. Already I told it's a large and complex software consisting of several components. It is made up of many components. We'll learn which are the different components. So each component of the operating system has its own set of input and outputs. So normally there is there are different components. It's like different part of the operating system is not one big, it's a big unit. So there we have a different parts. So each part has got takes something as input and something as produces as something as output. So for every task or each part of the operating system will have its own set of inputs and also output. These different components of operating system perform specific tasks. So each different components, what we discussed now, perform specific tasks. Like, so these different components of operating system perform specific tasks to provide the overall functionality of the operating system. So like you have like unity in diversity. There may be different components in operating system only. It is not like a physical device. I'm talking about software. Even software is a different set, different parts, different groups of instructions. So these different tasks, they did a different set of instructions, or what we call different components. Here, remember, components means it's a part of software. It's not physical. It's not hardware I'm talking. That's why component means normally we think is the hardware. So it's not an hardware. There's a different group of instructions. So that does a specific task. So combining together all this, they'll help to the entire functioning of the operating system. That's what we are talking about here. Different components of operating system perform specific tasks. They does only that task to provide the overall functionality of the operating system. So that's how it works. There are many components inside the operating system. All has to work as a one unit to perform any task required by the operating system. So let us learn the functions of operating system. That components what we are talking about. Let us learn one by one. Like memory management, maybe one component. So what's a memory management? So I think already you have understood. We have a memory. That memory has to be allocated the memory. After its usage is over, free the memory. Again, reallocating the memory to a program when the used block is free, and keep track of memory usage. So this is what the role of operating system. So whenever we want to store something in a computer means, so we're creating a folder and we are keeping something. And this is what you have seen in front on the screen. So what actually happens means operating system creates that one, allocates memory for what you are keeping. That will be remain there only. So, and sometimes you use and you delete. The memories you're not no more you're using. That is the memory is free. Whenever you delete that folder you created and you delete it, automatically that memory which is allocated by the operating system will be free. That is was what happening in the background. So, and next is reallocating memory to a program when use block is free. So already we have used the previous memory has been used and it is released. So again that block has to be used for another program, that is reallocating the memory, same memory which is used for a new program, it's a memory and it is or deleted. So again that memory can be used for some other program, that's the reallocation. And keep track of memory usage, how much memory right now available, what is the amount of memory right now being used. So that is the memory status, memory usage. So far you have a 64 GB of example I'm saying memory. Now it's not, it comes in 4 GB of RAM or 8 GB of RAM, or maybe secondary store. So all has to be keep track. That is what the role of operating system. That you might have seen when you right click on the some disk like C drive, so that it shows how much memory has been used and what is the memory space available. So that is because of the operating system. So it is something associated with the memory. management. So to perform the memory allocation, deallocation, freeing the memory, reallocating the memory, and keep track of memory usage is done by it's a one part of the operating system. That's what we call as a memory management. So next we learn about sometimes they ask memory management. What are the memory management? So allocation of memory, one, deallocation, that's freeing the memory, and reallocating the memory which is already used block is freed, and keep track of the memory usage. So these are the functions of operating system as a memory management. So now let us learn another component is a process management. So the process management activities handled by the operating system, it is like the process. So normally we have a processor that process the control access to shared resources like file, memory, IO devices and CPU. So here what happens means controlled access to the shared resources. So normally the memory, input output device and CPU, there will be shared. Normally they are working, and also we have file. So they are shared and working together. So here what happens, that has to be controlled. So controlled access to the shared resources like file, memory, IO. And so when CPU wants something, some particular file means that has to be transferred. So we want from input device, that is from input device, it goes to the memory and stored in the form of file. Again, that is needed by CPU, that access of storing among these devices. So that is the process management. So processor needed something to get the memory. So all these devices has to be controlled access we have to provide. So that is what the job of one of the function of operating system as a process management. So control execution of applications. So there are running many applications. So they has to be executed one by one, whether that application is completed or it is finished, something like so. All it has to be controlled execution. So it has to monitor, yes, this is done or something, it's not done. And one more is create, execute, and delete the process, system process or user process. So it has to monitor this one. Creating the process, some process you are creating, it is user process or system process, it's taking place. So create, execute, and delete the process. So that's also job of the operating system. Cancel or resume process. So you don't want to continue, or you pause now, you want to resume, continue, yes. Cancelling is also possible, or you can pause and resume the process which has been stopped. And schedule process. So when to execute this one and something. Synchronization, communication, and deadlock handling for the processes. So synchronizing the processor with the devices may be synchronized according to the data as and when it is received from input devices, it start functioning, processing itself. And communication. So it provides for a communication and deadlock handling. Communication and deadlock handling means sometimes what happens, system get into a crash, or sometimes you ask for many things and you read so many commands or so many things. Normally deadlock will not happen. It will not occur in today's computers, but earlier computers, when you have a RAM size is very less and you are given many tasks. So there what happens, so it is unable to perform the task. The processor is not available. Processor will become hanging. So that's why that condition is a deadlock. So that is, that will be handled by the operating system. So what is happening? So you are asking many resources for the same devices, or the processor has to be needed for many other devices. The processor has to be shared. So then in those places, the operating system is responsible for the processes. Whatever the processes is taking place, synchronization, communication, and deadlock handling for the processes, many processor. Processor means it's not processor, it's a process. A job in execution is called process. So maybe you are doing something on a computer means that's a process is going on. So a process is defined as a program in execution. Any job or program that is currently being executed is called process. So this is something about the process management. So there we have, so control access to the shared resources like file, memory, IO device, input output devices, and central processing unit CPU. Control execution of applications, many different applications. Create, execute, and delete the process. So we have some process means creating that process, executing the process, after usage is over, deleting the process. That's operating system, job of operating system. And cancel or resume a process. That's also job of operating system. Schedule process. So when to execute this one, schedule process. So all is related to the process that has to be done by the operating, that's you are needed by the users. So this is doing background. So we are doing some programs means, or just you imagine you are just playing some music on your computer means, so it's a background. So create that environment inside and start execute. Once you delete, so it has to be, the process has to be deleted. So that is how it is done by. So not only this is what we user processes, there may be system process which is be running continuously whenever computer is being switched on. So that is done by the operating system, as that is a part of this operating system. That's a operating system as a process management. So we have learned the memory management. Now we have learned as the role of operating system as a process management. So now let us learn about the operating system as a device management. Like we have many devices, input output devices, memory devices. So these devices has to be managed properly. So the device management, so handled by the operating system, or one is opening the devices, whenever system is switched on, so it has to be open. So closing the devices, whenever the computers you shut down, the automatically operating system closes that device. Write devices, write onto the devices, writing some contents, write devices and drivers, sometimes whichever. So drivers are nothing but some instruction which is present in the computer. When you switch on, automatically drivers makes that component to work. So that is what drivers. And communicate with the users, like, this device is ready to do some operations, and that's all communication. If there is an error, communicate with the error, all those things, that's a communicate part. That's why you can see when switch on the computers, where there's something, automatically keyboard blinks and your monitor flicker, and also the speaker make noise, and you'll get the message, Windows operating system, which type of operating system you are using, that will be displayed on the screen. And then your starts with the first screen. So there we have icons, there is a mic and keyboard, all those things. So that started using it. So that's operating system. So all this that's how it communicates. Control and monitor the device drivers. So whenever there is a new device has been allocated, and to function that automatically load the drivers and monitor. So which are the present devices are functioning, whether all device drivers are present and they are active now, so that the devices, whenever somebody is asking, and this awesome, somebody means the user wants that device and ready to function. So that is the job of operating system as a device man. So opening and closing of the devices, writing device drivers, instructions, some needed to function, some hardware, and communicate, control and monitor the device drivers. So this is the operating system as a device management. Let us learn something about one more is operating system as a file management. So what it does as a file management. So file means anything you create. So file is a basic unit of storage in a computer, or called file. So anything you're storing in a computer means that will be in the form of file. So where these files are stored, how do you access this file? And so that is who can access, where this space is available, and should I take the backup files, providing the security. All this is done by the operating system file management. So now operating system, we have a component as a file management. So what the file management task include? Create and delete both files and directories. If you want to create directories, nothing but the folders. So we have a directory, subdirectory, like folder, inside that another subfolders. Exactly same way. Creating and deleting both files and directories. You want to create files, yes, you can create and store in some folders, that's some directories. Or if you do not want, you delete, yes, that's also done. That's a file management. You want to keep something with the files means, that's creating files and deleting both of files and dictionaries. Not sorry, dictionaries, it's directories. Directories is where we group many files, similar files, under one folder or one name. So that is called directory. So provide access to the files. So once you kept the files, and control who can access, who are not supposed to access, providing the access to those files. It is done and it's stored, and nobody is able to access that file means, so it's not the role of operating system, because whenever you want something, anybody clicks, it will be available, it will be opening. That is providing whichever you made it as free, it's operating system, it is available, providing access to the files, allocating spaces for files, yes, this operating system not only just creating, it also allocate the space for the memory. That's a files which is needed for the files. Keep backup of files. Excuse. Keep backup of files and secure files. So this is the functions of operating system as a file management, creating and deleting both files and directories, providing the access to the files, allocating spaces for files, keep backup of files. So in the case of anything happens to the computers and whenever reinstall, so those from the backup, so you can get it back, all the files which, which has been earlier before the system crash. So that is the job of operating system, and also secure files. So make sure that your file are kept or secured, something providing the security. So that's something about the functions of operating system as a file management. So next we have a protection and security. This is also a job of the operating system. Additionally, specifically we have the operating system protects the resources of the system. So user authentication, file attributes like read, write, encryption and backup of data are used by the operating system to provide a basic protection. So normally what happens means there is many people are maybe using the computers, and also so whenever you want to log on to the system, maybe we have a resources, many things. So if you want to use means we have to user authentication. So you think in a typical example of bank. So there is a manager, there is a clerk, and also there is a general manager, there is a MD, something like this. So there are many peoples, and where manager login and uses is environment different, and where clerical person login and uses is environment is different. So you cannot use a manager's system. Similarly, so there is some restriction. That is how the authentication. If you want to use the computer means like username and password. Example I am saying. If you have the username and enter the password, then only it opens for you. And whenever you log in means with the same username and password, then only that computer, that what is the restricted is being accessible by only valid author only. You are actually the author to use that particular data or system. So that's also done by the operating system. It provides file attributes like read or write. So where is a file means sometimes you make that like attributes additional conditions. If you fix it only read purpose means you can read only. You cannot modify. So it can keep reading. You cannot modify this. You cannot edit that one. So write means so it is writing. So encryption. So if you want to modify, update anything, adding new thing is possible. Encryption and backup of data. So backup of, already I told about the backup, same thing. So backup of entire data is used by the operating system, provide a basic protection. These are the basic protection and security for the, as a operating system. So operating system as a protection and security. So next is user interface and command interpreter. So what is the user interface or command interpreter means? So operating system provides an interface between the computer user and the computer hardware. The user interface is a set of commands or a graphical user interface via which user interacts with the applications and the hardware. So normally user interface or command interpreter. So normally we have two methods. I think you might be remembering GUI, graphical user interface, and there's a command, we have a interpreter, command line interpreter we call. So what is this commands means? Earlier we are using. So there, what we have seen today's computers, we have everything is menu based. We have icons, we have, that's a graphical user. So my computer, we can see that when we click the my computers, whatever inside the computer will be displaying the C4, something like this. So you have known, that's a one way of using. That is using icons and menus. You click, one pop-up menu will come, then you select like anything. There are many applications you are using. Then this was the today's we have much familiar. In similarly, there is one more is a command interpreter. So where you will type. So if you want interact with the computer means it is through the commands. So that is like DOS we call, disk operating system. So in that case, there is no icon, there is no graphical user interface. Only thing is we have a set of commands for every operation. You want to create store file, create a directory like MD, make directory, CD, change directory, something like this. All these commands, for every operation there is no icon, so we have a set of commands. So we have to type the command, the command interpreter will convert this and does by the operating system. So that's a command interpreter we're talking about, user interface. That's how the operating system able to perform. So this is the operating system functions. Where, as I told, the operating system is consisting of many components. There are many components. They have all has to perform in order to accomplish the entire functionality of the operating system. So that's what we have discussed. What are this means? First is operating system as a memory management. So first, the role of operating system as a memory management. Second, process management. Operating system as a process management. This is another component. Operating system as a device management. And then operating system as a file management. That's another component. So next we have protection and security provided by the operating system. So operating system also provides the user interface like command interpreter or graphical user interface, GUI, menu based. So this is the different components of operating system. So there does a specific task like protection, like file management means it is related to the file. Process management means it is related to the process management. Device means it's only related to, so they take their own set of instruction to perform these operations, and all has to perform operation together so that to accomplish the entire concept of operating system. So this is something about operating system. That's the functions of operating system. In exams, maybe they may be asking specifically mention the functions of operating system as a file management, or mention the different functions performed by the operating system or different management. That is where to write, starting from the first one is the memory management, process management, device management, then the file management, protection and security, and user interface or command interpreter. Or maybe they may be asking specific topics. So then we learn different types of operating system. So based on the time constraint and service requirements, critically every operating system will come under one of the following groups, namely batch operating system, online operating system, real-time operating system. And also we have different types. We'll learn one by one. So you can see basically the different types of operating systems are single user operating system, batch processing operating system or batch operating system, multi-programming. In multi-programming operating system, we have different types, multitasking, multi-user, time sharing and real-time. So they comes under multi-programming. And we have a distributed operating system, we have a network operating system, we have a multi-threaded operating system. So these are the different types of operating system. So we'll discuss. So there were different types of operating system. So the single user operating system, so batch operating system, already I told about these things. So we start with the single user operating system. So multi-programming, multitasking, distributed network operating system, multi-threaded operating system. In a single user operating system, so the operating system allows only one user to share the system resources, including the CPU. So these are mainly operating system configured for the personal computer. So they are typically normally what we have used, that is the single user operating system and some certain type of laptops. DOS, disk operating system, and Windows 95, 98, Windows 10 today what we have, and also we have Apple Macs, etc. are example of for such systems. However, all other operating system except DOS has the ability called context switching, so allowing it to operate a multiple program windows or applications. You might have seen, so you can open many applications and they can be minimized. You can see adjacent one by, so 10 or 20 application can be run at the same time. So that is the context switching. You can select one more and you may be playing the music background, and also you are browsing in internet, and also you are downloading something. So it's like many things or many applications or windows or many applications. That's why the program windows we call. So many tasks. Program means anything which is currently being executed. So that is many application can be run, allowing the same. So it's in a single user. So only one person will be there. So only one user we are talking about, single user. And the system resource, so it will be sharing. So everything is shared with, including the CPU, everything is shared for that user only. These are mainly operating systems. So this type of operating system mainly used for desktops, like microcomputers. So like personal computers and certain type of laptops almost of the laptops and same and DOS and Windows commonly we use, uh, except DOS. So all other has ability called context switching, that is allowing it to operate on multiple program windows. I think everybody who uses computers, you might have seen many applications. In the taskbar, you can see many things. So that is many windows. If you click, that will be working, and many applications could also be run. So that's like a single user operating system. So just only one type I'm saying. So it does all the operation. What we discussed earlier, all the things will be done by the single user operating system. This is only, we are talking about environment where we will be using this type of operating system. Means it is for a certain type of computers. Normally single user means it's not much complicated, very simple one that's used by for individuals who will be using the computers for their own applications, simple things, playing games or some browsing the net. So there we use a single user operating system. Maybe in office, banks also they use this type of operating system. So next it comes batch operating system. So I think there is notice a batch. So we make a group or a batch. Similar jobs are combined together to form the batch, and these batches will be given to the computers. So automatically the computer will process one by one. So it's a time efficient, using the computer resources more efficiently. There is no human intervention. So once you provide the program, data and instructions, so automatically computer will be doing one by one. So at the end it finished, and then you'll get the overall the job is done. There's disadvantages also, there are some advantages. Advantages means we can use our resources more efficiently. Disadvantages means because in between we cannot execute, we cannot modify the instruction, and also if there's some error occurs, so that again after the completion of the entire jobs, then it has to be modified. Like this, there are many something. So it's a non-interactive mode, and also offline debugging. That's we use some technical word also. So this is something. We learn this batch processing operating system. In batch operating system, usually allow little or no interaction between the users and the executing programs. That's very important. So you program, there's no interaction at all. So little, or they're mentioning even that is not. So no interaction between the user and the executing program. So that's program that is currently being executed. It requires, how it works means it requires programs, data, and also necessary commands. So program is enough, but still also data and programs, instruction, commands. So that's called job control language, JCL. So using this, so it has to be submitted in the form of job. So like this, using data, program, and instruction commands. So we form, and it's submitted in the form of job. So we create this and we submit as a job. So it has a better potential for resource utilization compared to simple serial system serving multiple users. So how means, so this is normally what happens. So the CPU is much faster devices, processor, and other devices are much slower. So to use this, the computer resource, that's a potential for resource utilization compared to other type of serial system they are saying. So serving multiple users. Here what happens means we give too much, that's we are trying to establish or accomplish the potential, that's CPU speed. So you feed how much data as necessary will be provided to the computers, and computer will be able to the processor can execute more efficiently, as continuously the processor is much faster. That's how we can use the resource to like optimal performance of the computer. And also this is also well suited for the application. Normally it is best suited for the application where we handle with the large computation time and no user interaction. So in those environments, this is best suitable. For example, payroll. So it's like we may collect attendance of employees. Payroll means paying salary for his employees. So for every month we have to pay. So it will be collecting how many days he is present. So based on that, we will calculate, and that is done automatically. There is no human intervention. Automatically, electronics via biometrics, we enter automatically it code. And also forecasting. So that there also we use, because that involves a large amount of data. Statistical analysis and large scientific number crunching programs are also example for its usage. So where we have to deal with a large amount of data, so science or commerce, it doesn't make difference. So in those environments, we use this batch operating system. So normally we cannot use batch operating system for at home. So in your home, you cannot use this type of operating system. This is only for to handle large amount of data. And in those environments, we use this type of operating system. So then let us learn. So here, user need not wait during its execution. So batch operating system will function in FIFO, that is first in, first out. So just you provide it one by one continuously. You need not to worry about whether it is whatever just you type and provide as a job along with the data and instructions, automatically will be executed one by one. You give 10 different commands and 10 data, so automatically it is done one by one, the order in which you have given. That's like first in, first out. The main disadvantage of this operating system is a non-interactive mode of execution. So there is no interaction. It's like offline debugging. That's why if there's some errors means we may not be knowing. So once the complete job has been done, and finally you will get the errors, that's offline. So we have to modify the program. Again, it has to be given in the next cycle. So that's a drawback of the batch operating system. So examples, we have IBM system bar 360 operating system, OS bar 360 for IBM is an example for batch processing operating system. In DOS, we can emulate this batch processing using .bat files. So this is that's also using DOS, and also using Windows, we have this IBM system, that is OS bar 360. So next we have multi-programming operating system and multitasking real time. So that will continue in the next class. Okay.